up. I just have a graphic I want to put up, and I think it kind of sums up, the main thing I want to talk about tonight, and that's this.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's crazy. It's crazy. So this, for those of you, obviously hope you're watching, but you're seeing this right now. This is the coming soon placeholder right now on Netflix for Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai, which of course was a YouTube series. Cobra Kai, starting with season 3, is actually coming to Netflix. And then, Eric, I think you have an actual news article that's probably worth actually bringing up. I just wanted to show everyone this because I just can't. This is crazy to me. And I'm very excited because I loved Cobra Kai season 1, and I loved what I did get to see of Cobra Kai season 2. But I was one of those people, I wanted to pull the trigger and re-up to watch season 2, and then for one reason or another, it just never seemed to work out. So I didn't see all of season 2, but I saw quite a bit of season 2. But I loved season 1. And I'm very excited to know that Cobra Kai is coming to Netflix because it means, 1, I can rewatch season 1. Number 2, I can obviously catch up on season 2. And number 3, not just season 3, but I'm hoping I can talk Eric into actually covering this actually for the show because I love.
Oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer now. That's absolutely a no-brainer because I have Netflix. That's why I'm so excited about this. As Bobby says, no mercy, no mercy. Absolutely. Well, what's interesting is, okay, so by the way, Orville Nation's in the house. He says hi. He loves Retro Rogues. But he said something that, of course, he's too kind. PJ, you're always too kind. He says, this is the best content on YouTube. And, of course, I would argue you have the best content on YouTube, PJ, because you do excellent content. You do excellent interviews, all sorts of great stuff. But I think the two of us, Orville Nation and Retro Rogues might be the best stuff on YouTube because Cobra Kai is not there anymore. That's the big story. That's why this is Streaming Wars News. So basically, YouTube is getting out of the sort of scripted series, game. So YouTube Red was a massive failure. They are conceding defeat. I think Cobra Kai was the last thing they were holding on to, and now Netflix is taking Cobra Kai. This is a really big story in that regard. Now, granted, YouTube Red, I mean, they don't even call it YouTube Red anymore. I don't even know what they call it now. They call it like YouTube Premium, I think. So YouTube Red, they even got rid of the whole YouTube Premium still exists, which is essentially YouTube Red. But they've conceded defeat, which is kind of interesting because, YouTube has had this tendency, especially right now, a lot of creators are talking about this, where they keep offering more and more corporate fluff. And then here you had a great scripted show that YouTube was producing itself, and they're getting rid of it. It's really kind of weird when you think about it.
And it's interesting, too. I want to point this out because when we had first started talking about and covering the streaming wars here on the show, I had always kind of theorized that I thought the first casualty of the streaming wars was probably actually going to be the DC Universe app because I didn't understand how the DC Universe app was going to survive or move on once HBO Max actually came out, because I just assumed that content would be rolled into HBO Max. And now we have DC Universe app is still over here trying to go strong. They got Stargirl, and they've got the couple seasons of the new Harley Quinn show, which some people quite enjoy. I haven't seen any of those because I haven't re-upped my DC Universe app subscription service. But you've got DC Universe is still over here going strong. And then here's YouTube letting go of an initiative that they started because they were one of the first combatants, if we're talking about it. They were one of the first combatants in the streaming wars. And then here comes Netflix, and they're just gonna sweep the leg and take Cobra Kai.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's really interesting. Now, of course, YouTube is still very much a player in the streaming wars.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, absolutely. We've talked about that YouTube actually, where they really kick everybody's butt to this day, is in mobile streaming. So if you're using one of these things to do your streaming or a tablet or something like that, everything says that you're probably watching YouTube over any of the other like subscription services or even free services that are available.
I can't get it to stream on this though.
You know, eventually they're going to have one that you can. I'm sure. Eventually they will.
Sure.
Yeah. So Cobra Kai. You know, I've got the Hollywood Reporter article here. It says Cobra Kai moves to Netflix as YouTube officially out of scripted. So they're officially out of the scripting game. The first 2 seasons will join the unaired third of the Karate Kid sequel, starring Ralph Macchio and William Zabka on the new platform. So they have found their new home. I think this is a no-brainer, by the way. You know, Dave was talking about it. We are definitely going to be reviewing season 3 on Netflix. I'm looking forward to it. I've seen a lot of good stuff about this show. I've seen many of the episodes. I've really enjoyed it. The one thing that was keeping me from completely going into it was I didn't want to subscribe to YouTube Red. This was literally the only thing that I saw on YouTube Red that interested me at all. So I decided, you know, I didn't deal with it. You know what I mean? I just was like, several episodes were put out for free. I watched some of those. You can watch a lot of trailers for the episodes on YouTube for free. And then also what's interesting is YouTube has actually, been pirated, by itself. In other words, people will take key scenes from Cobra Kai and they will cut them and put them as YouTube videos. I don't know if you've seen some of that content, Dave, but I think it's kind of funny. So people will people are talking about certain things that happen in the series. Well, I've seen them on YouTube, but not through YouTube Red.
Sorry about that. I'd seen a lot of that. Actually, a lot of the stuff from season 2 was the same thing. I had actually seen it because people had, pirated it and then put it back out there for people to view. Mm-hmm. And I had actually been trying to watch season 2 actually when they made those episodes available, but they're only available for like a short window of time. Right. And I was so busy. I tend to have so much going on that it's hard for me to dedicate a lot of time to anything anymore. And so it was just one of those things. It was like, I'm always having to choose. Do I keep this or do I lose this? Because there's only so many hours in the day and there's only so much time. And so unfortunately, Cobra Kai was one of those things. And it wasn't that the show wasn't good enough. The show was great. I really wanted to watch it. It was the fact that it was also behind the paywall. And it was sort of one of those things. It's like at the time I was looking for what I could get rid of, and it was just like I had already decided, because it was a huge dearth. There was a huge. It's just like with CBS All Access, but with CBS All Access, I'm always finding something interesting that I'm enjoying. Like right now, my wife and I are making our way through The Good Fight, and I can't recommend The Good Fight to everyone, but I've been really enjoying it. For what it is. And they keep introducing elements into the show. Like one of the main characters took up Aikido in the second season. And so there's sequences where she's doing Aikido, and I love Aikido. And, one of the investigators that works for the law firm, loves graphic novels and comic books. And we see him drawing, and they actually bring that in a later episode. It actually plays a part in a later episode. So with CBS All Access, I'm always finding something else interesting that pulls me in. But the big thing that pushed me away from YouTube was that whole thing that actually caused me to get rid of my channel. It was that whole quote unquote crackdown on content creators. Right. And that was the thing that made me pull out of YouTube and just walk away from it in a big way. Because I had been debating about re-upping because I wanted to watch season 2. I was having to make a choice about time, and then all that stuff happened, and I was like, well, forget this, and I deleted my YouTube channel. And when I walked away from everything, including Cobra Kai, because I didn't want to be in the middle of all that. I just didn't, even though I wanted to see more of the show. So even when they made it available, I missed a lot of it because I still right now I'm not paying the amount of attention to YouTube that I had been. I just not. That whole thing did a real number on me. And So I'm very excited about this because this is going to end up being a huge win for Netflix. That's the funny thing. This is going to end up being a huge hit for Netflix once it gets over there. I know there's all kinds of people that wanted to watch Cobra Kai when it first came out, and they weren't doing it because they didn't want to pay for YouTube. But almost all of them already have Netflix. So there's going to be a lot of people that's going to just love being back in the Karate Kid universe. And this thing's going to be a huge, huge hit for Netflix.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you. I think it's going to be I think it's going to expand the fandom. I think a lot of people that like the movie that didn't get a chance to watch the show, they're suddenly going to realize, oh, that's what all the hype was about. That's what people were talking about. This is so cool. This is so good. And I think that it's just going to explode. But I do think, again, I want to emphasize that, you talked about the reason that you got out of YouTube and the reason that you don't have a channel on YouTube yourself right now. It's just kind of funny, the mixed messages that are going on with YouTube right now and have been for quite a while, because a lot of us feel like we are being pushed out as independent content creators. And I think some of us might have thought it was because they wanted to do more sort of scripted stuff. Well, clearly that hasn't worked out for YouTube the way they thought it would. I think Cobra Kai was really their only legitimate big hit. There were some other shows. In fact, there's, I think, 2 other shows that are cited in this article that I'd never heard of that did find other homes on other platforms. But I never heard of hardly any of the YouTube stuff. And I remember looking at it when Cobra Kai first came out, and I wasn't really interested in it. So it's kind of interesting. So it's kind of, in a lot of ways, YouTube has kind of gotten what they deserve, I really feel like, because really their bread and butter are the independent content creators, people like myself, people like Dave, people like PJ from Orville Nation. Those are the people that really make YouTube what it is and make it a fun environment to be in. It's not all the corporate fluff, which they seem to keep piling on, and they keep piling on these rules. When COPPA first started, they were telling people consult a lawyer. Yeah, like I have an entertainment lawyer that I can just call and tell me what to do about my channel. So it is an interesting move in terms of basically YouTube saying, yeah, we're not even going to keep trying this anymore. We're out of the scripted show business, and hopefully, this is my hope. Hopefully, that means that they will start concentrating a little bit more and treating their independent content creators a little bit better.
That would be nice, and to even drive this point home even further, I have actually a story from when I used to teach martial arts that actually kind of plays into this, and what happened with me and YouTube. In the dojo I used to train in, we had one of the guys who's an assistant instructor, and he had like really long hair, and our sensei used to constantly like grab that hair and actually use it as kind of like for leverage and as almost a lever. And he would throw him all over the dojo when we used to train, specifically when we do the black belt level classes. Well, we had someone sign up to take classes, and this other gentleman had long hair. And so he told him, he said, you have to be really careful about that in a defensive situation, blah, 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 whatever. And he actually turned to this other gentleman and said, I want you to teach him how to protect himself because he's got this long hair. That's something that you've been learning to have to deal with. So I'm going to give that charge to you. Now, again, this guy was an assistant instructor. And so when he told him, teach this other gentleman how to protect himself, the next class he showed up and he cut all his hair off real short. So that's kind of what happened with me and YouTube. They said, consult a lawyer to protect yourself. So guess what? I cut off YouTube. That was my solution. So there's a martial arts analogy to go along with what happened with me and YouTube. Now, and it's weird because prior to that, man, I was on YouTube all the time. There was all these shows that I used to enjoy. There was all this stuff I used to just be really into. And then ever since then, I've just been kind of very distant. I think Orville Nation is the only show I really still follow on YouTube. And it's just because, I love the Orville, and I'm excited to see what's going to be happening, and we're friends now with PJ, and I want to support him. But there was all these other shows I used to watch. I used to be a big fan of, and I don't watch any of them anymore. I mean, it pretty much killed it for me in YouTube. And now the only stuff I watch is when Eric's like, you need to watch this. Are you aware of this? And he'll send me stuff, and I'll watch stuff specifically for the show. But other than that, and I've been watching a lot of training videos actually on YouTube right now, because I have been watching that. So I have been watching a lot of training videos, but we'll get into what that's for soon enough. But no, yeah, it's funny because when I think about all this and thinking about Cobra Kai and YouTube and their premium service or YouTube Red or whatever, I just think about how they pretty much killed it for me, you know, with some of their decisions that they've made. And again, that's just my personal opinion. That's my own personal story, my own personal reflections upon it, and just the unfortunate nature of where I found myself. And in order to protect myself, I just had to cut off YouTube.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did that. I think there's a lot of people that backed away and all that kind of stuff. Of course, the people that were most concerned were mostly the people that were reviewing toys and things like that. They really felt they had no guidance and had no idea what the hell they were going to be doing. But most of those channels seem to still be around and don't seem to be having any problems or anything like that. So I think some of it was overblown, but YouTube didn't help. YouTube didn't help. They didn't provide support. They didn't provide guidance or anything like that. So again, my hope is that now that they're kind of getting out of that scripted game, they are going to focus more on their independent creators and hopefully not so much of the corporate fluff